Today we get an update on the Panthers and Islanders series, how dominant the Canes were versus the Rangers, and also you get our qualifying play-in round predictions. Hit the music. Welcome to Jablam Sports Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter BrindAmour, and the mic is always on. You can find me on Twitter at Russia98. You can find the full show at Jablam Sports. If you have any questions or comments, please tweet us. Use the hashtag Jablam Sports. That's JABLAM Sports. Please subscribe to us if you haven't done so yet, and click on the three dots in your podcasting app. Share our show with three hockey fans you know. Thank you, everyone. Remember, check out our website, go to jablamsports.com, see all our podcasts, and even game notes for each episode. You'll get links to all the things we mentioned on the show, including guests. For our podcasts, click on podcasts, and then hockey on this show specifically right on our website. Time for some trending now. Logan, how's it been going?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Just 24/7 hockey. That's what's been going on. It's an overload. I know people have been talking about online. We love the format. There's games on all the time. How do you feel about it?
I kind of wake up and I forget that there's hockey, and then I sit down and it's like, oh, I've already missed, part of a game or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly turn it on. And then, the other day, I think I pretty much sat there from like noon to midnight just watching hockey. It was great.
I don't know. For me, it's too much because I like to work out. I like to be active. I can't do that right now. I am doing it right now, but then I'm missing parts of games. So I try to go, okay, when is there only one game going on right now? And when is there intermission? So I can go and do my run, or I can go ride my bike and then work out and then kind of watch the game while I'm working out. That's my daily kind of focus in terms of that when I'm not going actually to work.
Well, for me, it was all right. I could sit down, I'll have my coffee, whether it's cold or hot. And then halfway, into the third game, is like, is it time for a beer? Can I have a whiskey? Am I pacing myself till the Oiler game, the last game of the night? Am I going to be too plastered for it, or?
Okay, now you want me, and now you're making me want to drink. People who have been following me know, and I might have kind of touched about it a little bit at the end of last episode and my shout outs, and it's to my dad. And I just kind of want to reference that right now. My dad's kind of going through some things, and he might be having some kind of heart surgery. Oh, dear. Yeah, so I hope my dad's doing well. And with everything going on and all this, it's been a little hard time for me, and I just remembered about that. And it's just hard to enjoy hockey right now, and we're going to talk about it. And even when I've been watching the Leafs play, I can't fully get myself to go into it. And it's obviously my head and my heart are kind of not fully into it. But I also don't know if it's what's going on right now with hockey being played in August and with almost 5 months in between hockey being played. And it just doesn't feel like it's playoffs going on right now. And it's qualifying round. And I don't know.
Well, in the 5 o'clock Leaf game today, or whatever, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock,
game, it was very early, I thought, too. I totally forgot you expected at 7 o'clock Eastern as is pretty much every Leaf game. But now, then all of a sudden, 4 o'clock, why, the time is all messed up. Right?
Yeah. Yep. It is. It's just so weird. How do you feel about this? I know some people were talking a little bit about this, and I just wanted to touch base on this. We're not going to what we're going to talk about in mere moments, and that's what we're talking about, because we didn't get to it last week with the awards, was we are going to talk about our predictions, which we had already made, of course, because we were doing our hockey pool. But we're going to talk about that as well, touch base on all the series. but a lot of people are wondering about the rules with the round robin, and I wasn't sure that they're just playing like regular season rules, and after 5-minute overtime, 4-on-4, they go right into the shootouts, and that's it. And people are like, well, this isn't playoff hockey.
See, I didn't even totally realize what the top 8 teams were doing, or top 4 for each division were really doing. I hadn't even really thought about it. And then as we're doing the pool, I was told that there's a round robin play-in. So there's 3 games plus whatever, best of 7 series after that. So those players for our pool anyways, get guaranteed 7 games. And then the next day, the round robin happened. I think there was like you said, an overtime and a shootout. It's like no one knows what's happening. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if the announcers knew what was going to happen. Like it was just,
I knew of the rules. I knew that they were kind of doing like the regular season rules. So it just bypassed me because we're focusing so much on the qualifying teams and getting to the next round and trying to figure it out. And for the hockey pool, I was like, well, it's kind of not fair because we're getting extra points for players playing in overtime. And now if there's going to be a lot of shootouts, like what are they worth? Or what's going on there? So I guess it's easy to bracket them and figure out how many points and teams are getting out of the round robin. But it is a little bit of a letdown, I will say this, that it's not really playoff hockey then. It doesn't feel like playoff hockey, especially the energy that they're putting in compared to the qualifying games. And, of course, they just want to make sure they're not getting injured like in Winnipeg, where the whole team is getting dismantled.
Yeah, that's true. The round robin games have been a little bit slower paced. The coaches have still been, as mad as ever if their teams aren't performing. But you just want to make it through without injury. You got another team to play after these guys. You don't have, there's no shootouts in playoff hockey. Like it's all just kind of odd, but still you probably just can't have them sitting for an extra week either. So I'm glad they did this, and I'm actually totally fine with the rules of them playing like regular season type rules, because there's no reason to be playing insane amount of overtime games when they're just like in a round robin format at all. These games, they're not in a series. They're not fighting for their lives, quote unquote, being a sport. So I'm totally fine with it. And if people are upset about that, well, that's just too bad. We're all going through something totally different right now, and we're doing the best we can. And again, props to the NHL in terms of, again, having no positive results again with the last round of testing. Over 7,000 tests, 0 positive. Same with the NBA. It's quite amazing.
I'm amazing. I'm gonna knock on wood again. Keep it up, NHL. All right, let's get to our predictions, and let's go into the East first. I easily had Pittsburgh going against Montreal in 3 games. I thought Pittsburgh's going to be maybe 4, but I was like, it's going to be easy. I had them in 3 games. What did you have them? That series.
I think Pittsburgh. I think I would have picked Pittsburgh at 3-2. Price was definitely going to steal at least 1 game. I still think he might steal another. Mm-hmm. I mean, he pretty much stole. He could have stole that last one, but he had no support. Like he's playing his best hockey, and which he does in the postseason. Yeah,
he's been outstanding. I didn't see this. Like, I don't think he was that great this past year either. He hasn't been amazing, Price, for maybe 2-3 years, and this season was. It was an average year. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't outstanding, in my opinion. Just, I don't know, but he's totally helped them steal that first game. They went in overtime, and the second game, he was very good as well. But Pittsburgh just took it to another notch and just cycled and kept the puck in the zone. Montreal, I did not even remember one moment of that, especially that second game, where they had some pressure going on. They got to the blue line and they just dumped it in and went to the bench so often enough.
Well, in that series, I want to say more than other ones, has a lot of penalties, which really disrupts like the flow for
Mm,
at least the Canadians. For Pittsburgh, it's like Crosby gets a 2-minute break, or he's out there for 2 minutes.
yeah. But Pittsburgh's been really bad at the power play too, and that's what's been hurting them.
Yeah,
They've been atrocious on the power play, and it's so weird. I guess because the series are short, that the special teams matters even more, and
yeah.
it's hurt the Leafs. I know in their series it's hurt some other teams, but it's really hurt Pittsburgh. All right, let's go to the next series, and which is already over. It's
Yeah.
Carolina, New York. I had Carolina in, and my dad also picked Carolina. Uh, I had Carolina in 4 games. I did not think that they were just going to blow the Rangers out of the water here, and Aho would be the best player in the world, but that's what it is. What did you have it, Logan?
I had a little bit more faith in the Rangers. I thought I even picked Panarin in the pool with
Mm-hmm.
my last pick, but I'm a little bit of a gamble. I didn't really think they'd make it past Carolina either, but with Lundqvist, with some of those guys, Zabinajad, that's who it was.
Yeah, Mika.
It's like these guys are good players and they can take them somewhere. And Carolina was still a shaky team, although I guess they've proven that they've been good all year. Like,
Yeah.
not to count them out.
And they've been playing without Hamilton and a few other guys on the back end, so
Yeah.
wow, look out, top 4 teams for Carolina now. All right. We go to Long Island, Islanders, Florida Panthers. I was totally on the fence on this series.
Yeah.
I thought Florida might be able to win this series. I had Islanders in 5 games. I was on the fence. I did not think for sure who was going to win this series. I had Islanders with a slight edge, 55-45% kind of thing. But wow, the Islanders are firing on all cylinders. All 4 lines are playing well. They're getting goals from and a great play from Matt Martin and Kuhnhackl. Their defense is looking good. Varlamov between the pipes has looked good. And the Panthers are not getting much depth. They are making way too many penalties. And you can't blame Bobrovsky with all the penalties that they're making and the Islanders playing so well. So
Yeah, I think I had pretty much the same as you, but just for Florida, like 55-45 Florida. With the Bobrovsky kind of, I thought that the goaltending would take them that little bit further.
mm-hmm.
They got some great centers out in Florida. Great. Is Ekblad playing? I think he's playing.
Yeah, Eichblad's there.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's playing well.
it's like he's a great defenseman as well. Some of the New York Islander forwards are just a little bit small, a little bit timid, but they seem to be firing on all cylinders, like you said. So rolling 4 lines. Martin's a big guy. He can go in there and bang around with the best of them. So
Yeah. Speaking about banging around with the best of them, that's the start that the Leafs needed in Game 2. Anthony Stewart even called it out, give more ice time to Kyle Clifford, and he came out with a flash and a bang to start that game. Hey, if they're not going to call it, they're not going to call it. But sometimes, like that first hit by Clifford was a charge. He went off his feet. He took out the player. He's injured. And in my opinion, it's totally not a suspension worthy. But hey, that should be at least a 2-minute penalty. What happens? Well, the Leafs got a little bit of a boost from that, and they outplayed the Blue Jackets the entire Game 2. I thought the first game, the Leafs were still slightly better, but wow, Korpisalo, I did not see this coming. I had this series because we haven't seen the Leafs take it to the next level in the playoffs, and that's what we've been all waiting for. I had the Leafs winning this series in 5 games, but not like this. What did you think was going to happen in this series, Logan?
I think the Leafs would have done it in 4, and then they still can, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the Columbus Blue Jackets forwards are just not as good. Matthews, compared to Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, and Marner, like that's just a stacked team.
Yeah.
Or it should be a stacked team. And then you add in a Spezza and a Clifford and a Kapanen
The
and
list goes
Robertson
on.
not out of nowhere, but coming in just out of off from the street from the OHL or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I've been saying this, and I don't know if people are listening, but I feel Columbus is the Boston Bruins without the top line. You take out that top line of Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron, and you have the Columbus Blue Jackets. You have a
yeah, it's not bad.
hardworking, very good defensive team, great, well coached by Tortorella, without the flash and the bang of the superstars.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they do have superstars. The only thing is they're more on the back end between Werenski and Seth Jones, and they've done a great job in this series in terms of holding back Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares. Marner needs to step up in this series totally. I thought he would because he's always been so great in the early afternoon games, the what's called the next generation games that the Leafs have been having the last few years, especially against Carolina. Marner's been fabulous in those games. And he was again game 2. He first game he wasn't good at all, and Tavares wasn't so much either. But in game 2, again Marner wasn't great either. Tavares stepped it up. Matthews has been great all both of the first 2 games so far. But they're gonna need a lot more from Mitchie if they want to win this series, especially go far in the playoffs. But the bad sign was the end of game 2. Bittersweet was Jake Muzzin going down, and man, and I don't know. I feel bad for being stuck in the position of the NHL. I know Leaf Nation won't like me for saying this, but that's just a bad circumstance. Yes, they should totally start calling cross checks from behind, totally. But they haven't started, and it's not like, are you going to start now just because Muzzin got injured? He might have a neck injury, and he might be out for the entire playoffs. He might be out only a week. We don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those kind of freaky plays that kind of happens. I guess you can try to crack down on some of the guys that do it the most or more, but I don't know how you call that either. But
yeah, I think they need to change the rule there, and if you need to start calling it all the time. Cross check from behind should be a penalty. Guys are getting destroyed in front of the net. Again, a little couple whacks here and there. Okay, maybe shoves, shoulder shoves. Those are fine, but you add that stick, that hard stick to the back of the legs or the lower part of your back, and that's or to the neck. Hey, we saw Crosby get hit in the head in that first game in Montreal, and wow, that should have totally been a 5-minute penalty, a 5-minute major penalty, but. Yeah, these sticking penalties really need to be cracked down by the NHL. But I think they've been cracking down fairly well in the playoffs so far. All right, let's go to the West. Oilers, Hawks. Wow, the Hawks have been playing pretty well, eh? Are you scared there a little bit, Logan?
The first game definitely kind of scared. Well, but again, like the Oilers were the first to say it. They didn't play well. Not to give the Blackhawks not to shortchange them at all. It was a Kubalik with 5 points in his first postseason game. Like,
wow.
And Taves with 2 goals, almost 3, almost 4, probably. Like, he's back to form. The second game comes around, McDavid just takes over and scores and scores and scores. I still have Oilers in. I kind of thought Oilers if in 3, if Chicago played the way they did in the regular season.
Yeah.
But now it's like maybe it's Oilers in 5.
Yeah.
Chicago could still win another one. So
yeah. I had Oilers in 5 just because of the way the Hawks have always played in the playoffs. I was scared of them, and that's why I didn't want to pick any Oilers in the pool. I was like, I'm not touching them because I think the Oilers could get beaten by the Hawks, and even if they do get beat by the Hawks, I don't know how far they can go in the playoffs, but I totally thought the Hawks can be playoff Hawks, and some of their younger talented players are very underrated, like DeBrincat and Kubalik, and I know a lot of people were pissed off about some guys like Fox not being nominated for the Calder, but there you go. That's why Kubalik deserves to be nominated for the Calder and has a possibility of at least getting a fair bit of votes. I know Hughes and Makar are up there, but wow, Kubalik, is he the next Panarin? I don't know, but he could be. Wow. And McDavid, just, boy, that kid is amazing. Did you hear? I know it was trending a little bit about Adrian Dater saying that he's a boring guy and that he doesn't motivate his teammates. I don't know. He scored huge goals. He started the game with 2 goals, and then the rest of his team started playing really, really well.
Yeah. He motivates them by playing well on the ice. He motivates them by making everybody else in that dressing room better.
Yeah. Not everybody can be John Tavares. I mean, sorry. Tavares is another boring guy when you talk to him on interviews. How's your kale, Tavares? Yeah, McDavid's a little boring too. Did you hear the comments he made about the hat trick?
Oh, he didn't want hats on the ice.
He was like, it was unneeded, unnecessary. The hats are unnecessary. Yeah. Oh my God, Connor. That I will say this: I'm not a huge fan of McDavid in terms of off the ice. I love him on the ice. He is the best player on the planet. But off the ice, yes, I will go with this and say, Adrian, you are correct. He's a little bit boring, I guess you could say.
I can see that. I'm fine with that too. He can do all his talking on the ice.
Oh man! All right, let's move on. The series nobody's talking about is Nashville and Arizona. Maybe they should be, because this. Okay, Siri. Not even Siri understands how what's going on with this series. She doesn't know either. Because Arizona won the first game, was a really close one. They did really well in the first, and then Nashville was really good in the second. I thought Nashville would win this series easily. I gave Nashville winning this series in 4 games. Roman Yoshi, I thought, would really obviously be everything that the Preds need. And the Coyotes have been playing well so far. What did you have for this series?
I would, Nashville probably in 4. Nashville's just has been that solid team for a while. They've been obviously a little bit shaky. This is the last couple of years, but it's still the same kind of guys that could get them to the 3rd round.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago. Like you still have your Forsbergs and your Yosis, like your Hansons.
They're just cold. They had a cold year. Their whole year has been off, up and down. We talked about this in the preview show. Just the Preds are not fully there, but they still got all the pieces. They're still there, and they could easily win this series if they just came together and formed what they were, especially in the playoffs the last few years. They've been pretty good. But the Coyotes, Taylor Hall, wow, he's taken it up a notch again, and he's been in both games exciting to watch.
He's that X factor that a lot of teams want. He's explosive, he's fast, he shoots. He can even make that great pass to his line mates as well. Rarely, but solidly on the stick to stick, and then it's in the back of the net. Like, he's just that hard to contain guy.
It's as if Taylor Hall is playing for a contract. All right, let's go. Vancouver, Minnesota. That game is still playing as we're recording this. Obviously, this episode's out Wednesday, but it's 1-1 in game 2. Minnesota won pretty handily in the first game. Canucks didn't even show up, and I had this series for Minnesota in 4 games because they just have way more veterans, and Vancouver's they don't have any playoff experience. They have very talented young core, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted them to be just outside of the playoffs and have a chance for the lottery when they were talking about teams going in and out of the 16 teams going in the playoffs and the 24 system. I was like, you know what? I would love it if the Canucks won the lottery. And again, if they lose this series, they might get Lafreniere. And that's what I would love. If Montreal doesn't get him, I would like the Canucks to get him. And I'm still on that side of things. But I actually picked Minnesota to win the series.
No, I had actually Canucks. I picked Canucks in like 5. Minnesota's always been stingy and we'll claw at least 2 away from you. But I kind of thought that young core would just be a little bit too much for some of the guys for some of the older guys on Minnesota.
Yeah.
And their goaltender Markstrom has been actually really playing really well. And
Yeah.
I thought he would step it up as well.
It's an interesting series. It looks like it's probably going to go 5 games, unless something crazy happens. But yeah, there's a lot of learning that needs to go. We saw that for a couple of years with the Leafs. We saw that with Washington's core, and we saw that with a few of the other cores as well. There's a learning process that goes with young teams, and hey, the Canucks are really young, so the core is going to be fine. It's not going to happen maybe this year or next year. It's going to be there, though. Just give them a couple years. And I don't know what's going on with Toffoli and maybe even them locking up Bezer. But they need to lock up Bezer, in my opinion, to keep this core going. All right, let's go. Last game of the qualifying round series. It's the Flames and the Jets. I had... What did you have for this?
I had Winnipeg in 4.
Yeah, wow.
Just because Laine, Scheifele, they were going to take him to the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, Calgary is still a good team, but they just weren't clicking this year. I didn't find Gaudreau was not as best as he's been.
Yeah,
and Tkachuk is still he seems to be solidifying that group now, I guess. But he always seems to be like he might be. Not the cancer in the room, but just that distraction in the room.
Oh, I've been the opposite. In terms of the series, I was on the fence. I had Calgary slight edge. Again, like a 55-45% for Calgary in 5 games. But Tkachuk, he's that playoff breaker. I've talked about it time and time again. I'm not a fan of some guys like Tkachuk, but boy, oh boy, are they so vital for a playoff team, and they're getting that extra boost from players like Tkachuk. Guys like Gaudreau and Monahan need players like Tkachuk to take it to the next level, and that's pretty much what they're getting. Milan Lucic has played well in this series, and they're beating down the Jets. It's awful. What did you think about the Scheifele injury?
I kind of agree with Paul Maurice in that it is a dirty play. Mm-hmm. I'd now do the same thing with Maurice. Did I think he's going out there specifically to stab him in the back of the leg? No. Do I think that Tkachuk always has a dirty thought in his mind or dirty act in his mind when he's hitting somebody or near somebody? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what took it just a little bit too far. He's maybe going for a sloofa, maybe going for a kick or a pinch, and then he did say he hit some bad ice and misfortunes happen. But if he's not trying to do that extra jab, then it doesn't happen either. So
yeah. All right. Well, I in my opinion, we just going to that part. I totally think he didn't mean to do it. He is a bit of a dirty player for sure. I'll say that. But in terms of that, I go back to high sticking penalties. Do players mean to high stick a guy in the face?
No.
Okay. But do they get a penalty for it?
Yes. Because you have to have control of your stick.
Why aren't we giving penalties to guys injuring players? They don't mean to do it, some of the time they don't mean to do it, but they did it. He did injure Scheifele, and Scheifele his Achilles could be torn for the rest of the playoffs, or his career, whatever. It could be done, and so Tkachuk doesn't even get a minor penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be for a suspension of some kind, like if a player comes back that a player has been severely injured.
That's what I've gone to is it doesn't matter if you meant to do something. You did it. You didn't mean to, because if we're always going to base things on terms of if did he mean to do it or not, well then we don't know for sure. Maybe it totally looked like a guy was going to injure somebody and then he did or he didn't. What if a guy just slightly sidesteps and he doesn't destroy the guy in the head, but it totally looked like he meant to? Well, then he's fine. That guy should not go get a major penalty. That guy should not go to the jail. He did mean to kill that person, but you know what? He's not going to jail because he didn't do it. No, in my opinion, if you did the action, you got to do the time, and if you meant to do it, well, that should be also a penalty or a jail sentence in terms of real life for those actions. So I don't know. In my opinion, in that instance, I don't know if it's suspension worthy, but in my mind, I would have been totally fine with Tkachuk getting a major penalty in the game because you lost Scheifele. It was a leg injury. It was because of Tkachuk's skate to the back of the Achilles leg. Did he mean to do it? Very possibly no, but he did. And again, hey, well, I feel bad right now for the Jets because they're losing men left, right, and center. They're 5 men down. We even talked about this before the podcast, a big injury to Laine. He got bumped in the game 1. And wow, they are just falling like dominoes in Winnipeg. And the series doesn't look great. Hopefully they can come back. Hellebuck didn't look too great in the last game, game 3. 6-2 win for the Flames. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's get to our segments and our interviews in today's episode. We are going to talk about the Islanders and Florida series, which as you're listening to this might be happening this afternoon. So with David Dwork talking Panthers and Rob Taub talking Islanders. And we're also going to probably try to get to some Canes talk. Let's go to the series. Team 11 Florida versus Team 7 New York Islanders. 2-0 Isles. Now we have Rob Taub, digital producer at New York Post and writer at Isles blog. You can find him on Twitter at rtaub_. Welcome back to the show, Rob.
Thanks for having me, Pete. How you doing?
I'm mixed right now in terms of my Leafs with everything that's going on between Muzzin and them winning the game,
which is hard to watch.
It's really difficult. But I'm managing. I'm expecting that you guys are doing well over there, though.
Yeah, we're doing. Look, up 2-0. It was a great game. Great game today for the Islanders. They showed their resilience. They got contributions from everyone. Varlamov had another good game. All 4 lines. We're doing their thing. So, yeah, I'm very happy, and I hope that they come away with the sweep tomorrow. That way get a little bit of time to, get ready for the next round, even though last year it didn't help them, but that was a little different circumstances. Yep. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited for what the Islanders have done so far, and, yeah, hopefully they close it out tomorrow.
We will see. Kuhnhackl has been terrific, eh? What a pass to Matt Martin on that one. Whew!
He's been phenomenal, and as much as people think of him still as just a depth signing, Tommy Kuhnhackl, he's a playoff performer. I remember last year in the playoffs when Barry Trotz, the first game against Pittsburgh, and he came up huge. And Barry Trotz said, he was dancing out there, and he was just a factor the entire series, and he's been the same way in this series, and he's a motivated guy. When he gets the chance, he's going to make the most of it. And that pass he made to Matt Martin was absolutely beautiful. You just don't expect things like that from him, but he's been great ever since the what's called the puck dropped in the series, and he's just continuing to be an effective player. And him and that third line, they've been really, really good. They've just been doing everything that Islanders could have hoped for. And if they can do it again tomorrow, it would be the cherry on top. It really would be.
He's been clutch. But also, I know in Edmonton, they used to call another guy really clutch, and that's Jordan Eberle. He's already broken some records now for the Isles.
Well, yeah, he joined some elite company today. He became the second guy in franchise history to score 6 goals in his first 10 playoff games, tying Ray Ferraro. Love Ray. But, Eberle, that first line, they had that quiet. They were quiet in game 1, but, they were going to come through in game. I felt like they were going to come through in game 2 because, Trotz said that they weren't they weren't that good in game one, but they were still effective. But the Islanders were going to need their big guns to come out today, and they really did. And Eberle was one of them. And Eberle, like we saw last year, he's made for the moment. And another guy, which when he's motivated, he's one of the toughest players to play against, and especially on this team. But Eberle, those two goals, the first one on the power play, great pass by Pulock to the cross ice feed, and then for him to fake out the Panthers rookie, the rookie defenseman. Named off the tip of my tongue, I forgot his name, but he also faked out Bobrovsky, and he just buried it into the back of the net. It was a great game for Eberle, great game for all four lines. But yeah, that first line, they needed to come up. They needed to come up big, because the Islanders, they got punched in the mouth early in the game today, and you thought, okay, this is going to be a different type of game than game one, and it was. But you saw the resilience, and you saw that first line. They needed to make an impact, and they did. And I thought Anders Lee had a great game too. He was the one who really started the third goal for Eberle, and with the shift. And then you had Matthew Barzal, who I think is going to end up in a body bag after the series for all the sticks he's taken, or him flying into the boards earlier. But he was good today too. You saw him. You started to feel that. You started to see that speed again. Started to get that feel that okay, he's starting to come on now. But yeah, it was just a great game for Eberle, great game for the first line. Yeah, hopefully, just like I said with Tommy Kuhnhackl, hopefully he can do it tomorrow and get this series finished.
You mentioned already Eberle scoring the power play. He's been outstanding. They've been amazing. Probably the best power play so far in these qualifying games. What's enabling this power play to take it to the next level?
I think it's confidence. I wouldn't call it 2 for 7 amazing, but you would think, all right, you get 7 power play, you got to score. I mean, you got to score if you get 7 power plays. But I just think the puck movement has really, really been what's impressed me. When I watched the Islanders during the year, you could see they were trying to be too fancy at times, and they were, be passing up shots. This time around, they're getting set up in the right positions. They're getting the puck, they're moving the puck fast, making Florida's they're making that penalty killers move, and they're putting the guys in the right places. I tweeted out earlier today that where Ryan Pulock scored, when he scored that second goal to tie the game, he was in where Ovechkin usually is on the ice for the power play. That's where they should have him at all times, because he's got a rocket of a shot, and he's just one of those guys where you put him in that type of situation, you put him in that spot, he could thrive. So I really, really loved what I saw having him where they put him on the power play today. And then even the second Eberle goal, you had Anthony Beauvillier, who's sort of becoming he's been one of the Islanders' best forwards in this series, bar none. But I saw he's not just standing around anymore. He was moving his feet. He found that little area of open space and found Eberle where it deflected off Eberle's leg for the fourth goal. That was really the insurance goal. But I'm seeing a lot more confidence on the power play, and that's a really good sign going forward for the Islanders, because special teams is huge in the playoffs. And it was going to be really, really crucial in this series because of how good Florida's power play was. The Islanders were going to have to match that if they got the chance, and now they have. So, yeah, I think the power play, it's all about the confidence, and I think it's also about who they're putting out there. And it's they're starting to gel, and watch out. They could be a very scary power play. If they're going to get 7 power plays a game, you hope that they're scary. Mm-hmm. But they have 3 goals in the series so far. So yeah, it's been a really, really good sign of things to come, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm guessing looking at all the other qualifying games, the power plays have been really abysmal, especially looking at some.
Yeah, look at the Rangers. The Rangers are about to be on right now. They went 1 for 7 on in yesterday's game, and I don't think they had. I don't know if they had a power play goal on Saturday when they lost, but you look at. You're gonna get that many chances. You got to score. This is the playoffs. It's do or die. So
yeah, you gotta wake up some of those Crosby and Malkin players, or some of my players on the Leafs, because it's been abysmal.
I watched Korpisalo today. He was amazing until Matthews finally got the Leafs on the board. But man, you talk about a guy standing on his head, and I think the shots I remember seeing, it was middle of the second period. Shots were 28-8.
Yeah.
Toronto, and I was like, yeah, there's no way they're not going to keep. They're going to have to score sooner or later.
Yeah.
But that series is tied. I didn't expect it to be 2-0 Columbus. So I'm not surprised that the series is tied.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that series goes. And All the other ones, they've been pretty entertaining. I think that the Montreal-Pittsburgh one is very intriguing because, Pittsburgh won last night, but, Montreal showed they're not going to back down from them. They're not scared of them. Like everyone thought it was going to be a sweep for Pittsburgh. I don't think it's not happening. So.
Yeah. Well, when Price plays the way Price can, anything can happen for Montreal. All right. You can find him on Twitter at @rtaub_. Thanks for coming on the show, Rob.
Appreciate it, man.
Let's go to the flip side of the series. Down 0-2, the Panthers are. We have David Dwork now. He covers the Panthers for WPLG Local 10 and has the podcast Chirping the Cats. You can find him on Twitter at David Dwork. David, welcome back to the show.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me back, Peter.
So, it's a bit of a struggle right now. And one thing I really noticed, and I think you did as well, is the Panthers really need to stop making so many penalties. In both games so far, they've committed way more penalties than the Isles, especially in this game. Of course, they scored 2 out of the 7 for the Islanders themselves. Why are they making so many penalties, and what do they got to do to stop making them?
I mean, that's the question of the hour, isn't it? It just looks like that a lot of times guys aren't moving their feet. They're reaching with their sticks. They're just it's lazy plays. I mean, today, what was it? Like 8 total penalties. I think if you include the 10-minute major with Brian Boyle, this is a team that, like, all you've been stressing is the importance of momentum, the importance of puck possession, the importance of keeping the puck away from the Islanders. And then you go out and you give up 7 power plays against. I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So it's tough. And for his penalty kill, it's a good penalty kill. But when you take that many chances, pucks are going to squeeze through. I mean, it's rough. And it absolutely has to get cleaned up if they're going to have any chance of climbing back into this series. Yeah.
You can't blame Bobrovsky, right, being down 2-0.
No, you really can't. And that's kind of, what you're almost rolling your eyes about, because coming into the series, the thought was, okay, if Bob shows up and if Bob plays to the level that he played at last year when he was in the playoffs for Columbus, then the Panthers didn't have a really good chance. Well, guess what? That Bob, for the most part, has shown up. A couple of goals have leaked through, but big picture, he's been exactly what you'd want him to be, and they're still not able to win. It's tough. Game 1, Bob gives up 2 goals, made some spectacular saves. They only scored 1. They came out on the losing end. And then earlier today, it's tough. The Panthers are scoring goals. They get the lead. They're up 2-1. And, you start talking about all the penalties are piling up. They give up the power play goal. It's a shame because Bobrovsky really has been playing well. And some of the play in front of him has just left something to be desired. It's frustrating. I know the defensemen are frustrated. Whether it's miscommunication issues, we've had guys coming in and out of the lineup now the 2 games, so it's hard to put your finger on exactly what the problem is, but you really can't point that finger at Bob.
Mm-hmm. The Isles are converting on way too many of those strong scoring opportunities. Who on the defense on that back end really need to step up now in the next game, which is less than 24 hours away?
As far as stepping up, I mean, the guys that you need to perform have performed when you're thinking of the Aaron Ekblads, the Mackenzie Wiegers, those guys. But I mean, the one player who you have to kind of take a look at is Mike Matheson. He has been struggling really every game that they've been in Toronto, from the exhibition game against Tampa straight through the first 2 of the series against the Islanders. He took 3 more penalties today, including the double minor, which he's since been fined for. He's been on the ice for almost all of the Panthers' goals against to this point. And it's tough with Matheson because this is a player who, when he's on his game, you're talking elite level play. Like, it's just unfortunate that when with the high highs come the low lows and you're just riding that wave. And it seems that to this point, it's like Quenneville is comfortable with riding that wave. But I really think that if any changes are going to be made ahead of game 3 on the back end, I'd be shocked if he's still out there for game 3.
Then what changes do you think Coach Q could make on top of maybe taking out Matheson for the game 3?
Well, today, for this game, he subbed in Brady Keeper and took out Riley Stillman, which was, you wonder why Stillman was the guy to come out ahead of Matheson. But, if he's going to make that move, I would just bring Stillman back in and let Keeper stay in as well. Or if you want to bring in a Josh Brown, and if there's something up with Stillman, I don't know. But you do have options in Stillman, Keeper, Josh Brown. There are options on the back line that can replace Matheson if Q wanted to go that route.
Now with their backs against the wall, nothing to lose, down 2-0 in a best-of-3 series, how can these Panthers come back and win in this short series?
They have to go back to doing what they do best, which is just hanging on to the puck, controlling it through the neutral zone, which they did at the beginning, the first 12, 13 minutes of game 2. Mm-hmm. They were playing their game. And it seemed like the Islanders were able to put the clamps on it after they scored that first goal. That Mike Hoffman got that goal as soon as their power play expired there in about midway through the first period. But they have to play their game. They have to hang on to the puck. That is what Q has been teaching all year. That's the systems that they play. It's preached on possession. It's, when you talk about offensive, defensive styles, it's a possession game. When you have the puck, they're not going to be scoring against you. You're going to increase your opportunities. That's what they've been doing all year. They need to figure out a way to do that consistently against the Islanders, because really that's how you're going to let your offensive guys score. That's how, and when they were doing what they do well today, the top line looked as it needs to with Barkov, Dadonov, and Huberdeau. They were controlling, they were making plays, getting scoring opportunities. Even like the third line, the Brian Boyle line out there was doing well today. The fourth line centered by Nolachari with Pissick and Sevier. So, I mean, when they're on their game, they're rolling 4 lines. It's working. It's just a matter of figuring out a way to do that well against the team that hangs their hat on shutting everything down. And, it's an unfortunate situation for the Panthers to be up against the team that they match up with so poorly.
Yeah, I wish them best of luck, and I hope it goes 5. I would just like to see a 5th game between these two teams.
Right now, I'll settle for a 4th game. Let's just get to game 4. Let's get past tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a quick turnaround, that's for sure. Yeah. You can find him on Twitter at David Dwork. Thanks for stopping by, David.
Anytime, man. Take it easy.
Now we go to the first winners of the qualifying playoff round ever in Carolina. We have Omar Abdelgawad. Now he's a writer and editor for Cardiac Cane and co-host of Red Revolution, our podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Tiberius_Nero. Omar, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here. Carolina Hurricanes moving forward. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, you excited? They're the first winners ever of a qualifying playoff round.
Historic.
It's amazing. So, we all know, in terms of goaltending, it was a bit of an issue for the Rangers. Shesterkin only really got to play in the 1 game. Lundqvist got the 2. So that was a helping point for the Canes.
I wouldn't say a helping point so much. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't think the Canes were really worried about who was going to be in that. Either it had been Igor, Hank, or even Georgiev. I think for the Carolina Hurricanes, they're prepared for whomever. And Igor, of course, was deemed unfit to play for the first 2 games. Mm-hmm. King Henrik came in. I'm going to say this. For the first 2 games, Hank was not the problem. He played excellent from what I saw. Those games would have been a lot worse without him. And I would pin the blame really on the Rangers' defense or lack thereof.
Yeah. If you're looking at defense, you can look at the Canes' defense, which is really underrated for sure. Slavin was fantastic.
Slavin, honestly, is probably one of the best players in the league on the defense. Is a pure defensive player. He gets overlooked year after year for awards and for everything. He should be the Lady Byng winner this year, but no, not even a nominee, amongst other things. Remember, this is a Carolina Hurricanes defense that's missing both Brett Pesce and Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah.
And they still managed to control the puck thanks to the influx of guys like Sammy Vatanen and Brady Shea.
For sure. What is the update, if possibility, for even maybe Hamilton? I know it was kind of on the fence. Is it possible that he can come back maybe next round?
Hamilton was supposed to be an option in games 4 or 5, really, I think, moving forward. He did practice. I don't think he's practiced with the team, but he has skated after the team less than a week ago. So he's on the mend. The original report really kind of came out was like a weekly thing. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the break up until at least August 11th, to see Hamilton come back in the first round.
Yeah, so that's really good. Carolina has very good defense, and you can see their depth is very good. And if Hamilton comes back, they're only going to be better, because Hamilton, if he had never really gotten injured during the season, he could have been even maybe nominated for the Norris as well.
No, absolutely. I think Hamilton was on a collision course with the Norris. He was defeating everyone else in all the stats. And quite honestly, if you look at what a complete season could have looked for him, he was dominating by and large, thanks to good chemistry with guys like Andrei Svechnikov and the rest of the offensive forwards. There's a running joke. Dougie Hamilton is really just a forward masquerading as a defender.
Mm. Seems like a lot of that happens a lot with some defense in Carolina as well. All right, let's talk about the beast that is Sebastian Aho. Excellent every game, 8 points, leading the league in the playoffs. Of course, 2 goals and an assist in that final game. Like, that guy is amazing.
Sebastian Aho is a complete hockey player. There's a reason Montreal wanted him so bad. I mean, they did not even do a proper attempt to try and get him. That was a joke of a offer sheet. But when you look at Sebastian Aho and his play, he plays unselfishly, and he knows when to shoot the puck, when to pass the puck. And I mean, he's fed Andrei Svechnikov 3 times, twice with the first assist, and the third time as a secondary assist, but still 3 assists on 3 goals for a hat trick. You got to take a guy like Sebastian Aho, and you got to realize that he might be as good, if not better, than some of the bigger names in the hockey world.
Yeah, for sure. Svechnikov, you mentioned him. His workout and his work ethic is fantastic, like a lot of the Canes. Is it all because of Rod the Bod? Is it the strength and conditioning of all these Hurricanes and the guys like Svechnikov helped from the leadership and Coach BrindAmour?
Absolutely. And you got to realize that when Rod BrindAmour took over, along with Don Waddell, there were a lot of players moving in and out. Big trades, people come in like Dougie Hamilton, and people leaving like Jeff Skinner. And of course, some of these are big names, some of these are small names. You kind of start wondering, like, okay, what's with all the movement? Is this really where we want to go? And you fast forward to today, and even guys who are just kind of like they under the radar kind of trades, like Jordan Martinook, and suddenly they're all buying in, right? There's a huge buy-in with Rod Bod's kind of ethic, coaching, training. And when you look at guys like Andrei Svechnikov, who only know NHL coaching under Rod BrindAmour, yeah, he's going to mold them and mend them into the kind of player that plays a complete game regardless. That's the style that he played, and that's how the Hurricanes won in 2006, and I think this is how they're going to win moving forward.
BrindAmour decided to go with Reimer in the 3rd game. Why was that?
Quite honestly, you're up by 2 games. Mm-hmm. You've got 2 goalies, and you really want to test. I mean, James Reimer didn't really get much of a test against Washington. He saw 9 shots. Mm-hmm. You're up. You have that
exhibition preliminary game, right?
Yeah. So he only got to play. He only got to play for 30 minutes. Saw 9 shots with Washington. Made all 9 saves. But it's not really a good enough validation to see if he's someone you can lean on moving forward, especially in the deeper rounds. So you're up 2-0. Worst case scenario, really, Reimer comes out flat. You put in Mrazek, and now you've got one goalie you got to lean on. But what we saw today earlier was an incredible performance by James Reimer to completely extinguish any attempt really by New York to generate offense that they can defeat Carolina's defense.
Yeah, being a Leaf fan myself, I've always liked Reimer's game, and he even battles, even if he's not having such a great game too. He's a battler, and he'll give you the effort there for sure between the pipes.
I'm not gonna anything against Toronto, but I think Reimer has grown a long ways from his time in Florida, and he was about to be, put on waivers or bought out from Florida, but he comes to Carolina, He gets some great coaching in Carolina. I think he's grown a lot, and I think just guys like Tulsky, who is the analytics guy for the Carolina Hurricanes, they can look at players and kind of help the coaches kind of understand where the players, even goaltending, we need to go by watching tape and understanding the deeper analytics of everything and make these players better, so much better. Look at guys like Brady Shea coming in from New York and immediate improvements coming into Carolina. And why is that? Just good coaching. They trust the analytics and they know how to make these players better using their past instead of using tradition.
All right. And going back to like the good goaltending and defense, how did they handle the possible Hart Trophy winner like Panarin to only a goal and an extra assist? How did they shut him down so well?
And this comes back to watching the tape and how Rod BrindAmour plays the game, because I didn't see them really focus on any one player, even if it's Panarin, Zibanejad. They all played their parts. And nobody freaked out if a certain superstar had the puck. They knew what their zone was. They knew their role, and they knew that if they played it well, that they could trust their teammates to also play their roles well to shut down whomever it is. Lo and behold, no mistakes, no player, no like little unnamed players left, no Brandon Smith being left wide open. All the goals that New York Rangers have scored, all four of them had to be earned. And if you look back at the 4 goals, and each one of them had to be earned at a high level.
All right. Let more of our listeners know about Morgan Geekie. He looked pretty good out there in this series.
Yeah, Morgan Geekie was one of those guys who came in playing Rod BrindAmour hockey before he met Rod BrindAmour. Mm-hmm. Right? Rod BrindAmour saw this kid and immediately adopted him. He's an absolute 200-foot player who he's not a small kid. He's a big kid. He understands that, and he plays NHL hockey in the AHL. So he sees the puck well. He knows how to balance his talent with just hockey IQ. And that's what it comes down to. Morgan Geekie has an extremely high hockey IQ. He has NHL level hockey IQ. And you can see his decision-making on the ice. And just that alone has bought him so many quote-unquote brownie points with Rod BrindAmour.
All right. What are the Canes going to do now? Isolated, waiting for possibly 7 days in a hotel for the next round to start. What are they going to do? It's good. They got a week now.
So they got a week now until the 11th, right, to really kind of see what's going to happen. Honestly, the smart thing to do, of course, and what is going to happen really is Rod BrindAmour is going to look at tomorrow's games. You got a couple of round-robin games in there that might affect who they play. And they're going to look at the Montreal-Pittsburgh game, kind of get a gauge on where that's going. And then they're going to go, okay, we know for a fact that we're definitely not going to play, say Tampa wins tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We're not going to play Tampa. We're going to eliminate Tampa from what we're going to look at, and we're going to focus on Washington, maybe the Bruins, and say, hey, these are the 2 teams we're most likely to play. Let's watch the tape. Let's see what we need to do to do the same thing they did to the Rangers. This Carolina Hurricanes team does not care about regular season anymore. They don't care about what happened in regular season. What they're going to do is they're going to look at the tapes and they're going to pinpoint weaknesses. They're going to find those weaknesses and they're going to exploit them. And I think they're going to have a pretty good measure of success moving forward. In the history of hockey, since 2001, this Carolina Hurricanes team has not made the playoffs and also not gotten to the Eastern Conference Final.
Well, good luck to the Canes. You can find them on Twitter at Tiberius_Nero. Thanks for stopping by, Omar.
Thank you.
I want to thank all our guests today. It was good catching up with David and Rob. It's too bad that one of your teams have to lose. I hope it goes to 5 games, Florida versus the Islanders, hopefully. Also, it was good to have Omar on the show talking about the strength and conditioning throughout the Hurricanes organization. Let that be an example, and then everybody else follows suit. Next week, we finally get to the top 4 teams from each conference and preview the official first round with 8 reporters, one from each city. Stay tuned for that. Go to jablamsports.com to see all our podcasts and even game notes for each episode. You'll get links to everything we mentioned on this show. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and click on the 3 dots in your podcasting app and share this episode with 3 friends. You can contact us and leave any questions or ideas for the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Russian98, RUSSIAN 98, or the entire team at Jablam Sports. You can also use the hashtag Jablam Sports, that's JABLAM Sports. Or you can go to our contact page on our website, jablamsports.com/contact. Also, if you like wrestling, go check out our new wrestling podcast, Pro Wrestling Explode, presented by Jablam Sports. It's where Pepperoni, Miranda, and I get into AEW and WWE. We recap and analyze recent matches, storylines, pay-per-views, and what's in wrestling news. Thank you, everyone. Today's shout out is to Connor Carrick. He's been a big influence on me in terms of making my health way more important in my life. And he's also introduced to me many ways of improving myself. I'm going back to school in the fall, and from the ideas proposed to me from Connor Carrick and a few others. As well, he's reinvigorated my love for podcasting. Thank you, Connor, and good luck on your podcast, the Connor Carrick Podcast. And to every one of our followers, I'm giving you a virtual hug. Stay healthy. Listen, be yourself, and stay strong.